Hi everyone, Jay Stropes here again. We'll be playing a sealed deck helmed by Grand Moff Tarkin with a red base there. The top end of our deck here is we opened two copies of Overwhelming Barrage, and we've also got two Gladiator Star Destroyers up in the air. On the ground, our biggest unit will be an Assault AT-AT. Beyond that, we've got two copies of Open Fire, two Cell Block Guards, and two Death Star Stormtroopers, one of which we've drawn into already. First match here against Chewbacca. As I mentioned in my last sealed video where I ran Director Krennic, sealed does tend to favor cards that are better when the games are slower, so higher drop, higher resource cards. In this matchup, that is relevant in the sense that since the games tend to be slower, that means that they also favor cards which snowball, much like Moff Tarkin does, because he's got his ability is to spend your resource and exhaust him to give an Imperial unit an experience counter. If you're familiar with constructed decks, Tarkin Red is one of the earlier kind of good constructed decks that performs well. One of its major first plays is to play cheap units like the Death Star Stormtrooper there, or a TIE in the air, and then stack a whole bunch of experience on it. We're doing a similar thing right now with this deck. So in that sense, you can also kind of see how a knowledge of constructed decks, even early on without the full card pool revealed, how that can still help you out, because then you can kind of see the synergies in the cards that you open. If you're completely unfamiliar with the cards, with decks, it's pretty hard to determine, especially if you get like a bunch of different leaders, which we opened in this pool. I think we got 6 different leaders out of our 6 packs and a whole bunch of different colors, plus every base is available. Becomes pretty hard to know what to do. Overwhelming Barrage, you can see right there, it's going to clear out their entire board. And then leave us with all of our stuff. One-sided board wipe, basically. A really great card. I think it's probably even worth splashing in another color combination, just because of how good it is. And there you can also kind of see how it combos with super laser tech. This way we'll be able to even play Tarkin on our turn. Really think Overwhelming Barrage is a kind of almost, I would say, yeah, it's as good as most rares. Even I think you could argue legendary cards, just because of how much it swings the game. It's a very, very good top tier removal, and is, like I said, better than a whole lot of rares and legendaries. Here you can see how Tarkin just starts to snowball. Unless you've got a way to bounce the units. I do try and, when I'm playing, stack the experience across multiple units. Especially depending on the matchup. If they have something like that power failure right there, they'll knock all that experience off. So if you put it all on one unit, it can kind of be a bad time for you if they knock that all off. So I suggest spreading it out, especially if you've already got a few on there. If you pay attention to the color type you're playing against, really try and anticipate the commons and uncommons, the removal that you might see in the other deck, the 2 to 3 colors. So this is also where that kind of constructed knowledge and knowledge of the set comes in. You really don't want to be surprised by a waylay and open fire, a takedown. Know your unit's health. Know how it relates to the common removal in the other colors, especially your leader, because you don't want your leader to be hit by removal most of the time, right? So just be aware of that. Second game here, going against an Iden deck. Okay, so we use Moff Tarkin to put the experience on our Death Star Stormtrooper. Maybe should have put it on Colonel Wolf there, just because of their shielded unit. Should have paid a bit more attention on that. Okay, we'll take the initiative from them. Gonna resource that upgrade. Don't have any vehicles out right now. We really want to be drawing into units. We've got a lot of our removal, our good removal, but we need something out to be able to use Overwhelming Barrage. We really don't want to try and play Tarkin and use it on him. We're almost up to 6 resources, so we really want to draw into our Gladiator Star Destroyers right now. And then be able to play Overwhelming Barrage after that. It's also worth remembering that a number of cards also work specifically against units. They do not work against leaders in particular. So putting upgrades on your leader units is sometimes worth considering, depending again on the colors that you're playing against. Did not draw into our Star Destroyers yet. We're about halfway through the deck. Haven't seen either of those, nor have we seen our AT-AT. We will use Overwhelming Barrage here, since it'll be able to take out both of their units, which should help us make the game last a little bit longer. So I'll get Iden out here. Iden only has 4 health, so pretty easy to take out with our open fires, our force chokes, once that shield is gone. Okay, there's our Star Destroyer, what we've been looking for. So no reason to play that super laser tech, since they would just end up as a resource anyway. And their board isn't full of units or anything. We're just going to keep hammering at the base, start sticking experience on that Star Destroyer. Okay, Iden has attacked our Moff Tarkin. which has knocked her own shield off, which is probably not great for her. We're going to keep everything we've got right now. We're going to keep that maximum firepower in case they've got like a big high health unit. Force choke, better to get rid of that 4 health than using that maximum firepower. That can deal over 6, actually probably closer to like 10 or 12 once we've stacked up that experience on our high drop units. So we really don't want to be using maximum firepower unless we need to. Plus blue-black does have those kind of higher health units. Okay, we're in a really good position at this point in the game. Even though we're at 13 and they're at 20, we've got a lot of big units out. Okay, they're making a pretty good comeback on the ground at this point, removing a lot of our units, putting out a lot of damage with those death troopers, plus that ambush. 5-drop in yellow. But I don't think it will be enough. We've got 9 in the air if we just go first. So probably should have grabbed initiative there instead of playing that open fire. That way could have just straight up swung with our Star Destroyer. Really don't think it'll make that much of a difference. Yeah, because I'll just play Fett's Fire Spray. Alright. So now we'll go on into game 3 versus Director Krennic. Kind of not the guy we want to see in this 3rd round. The difficulty, the way that Felt Table increases the difficulty is by increasing the base health of the leader that you're playing against. So since we're in our 3rd round, it would be our last round. That means Krennic is starting at 38 health. Plus, Krennic himself will restore the base up that high theoretically. So now just deciding whether we want to resource our only AT-AT or keep our heavy blaster upgrade. We can play that upgrade on our starfighter, our consortium starfighter. So, yep, that was a pretty weird play. I do not know why they got rid of their 2 tubes right there. Hit it with the Death Trooper to get rid of our probe droid. Probably should have hit their own Death Trooper to keep Benthic 2 tubes around. Gonna get resource that maximum firepower just because we don't have any Imperial units out. That starfighter is a fringe unit. Does have restore 2 while we have initiative. Plus, it is a good target for our blaster. The blaster does allow it to deal 2 damage, also to something in its arena. Only bad thing about that starfighter is that it is not an Imperial or villainous unit, so. Okay, we're almost up to where we can play our Star Destroyer. Now we're deciding whether we want to barrage or not. If we do barrage, be able to deal 7, which I think is what we did. Yeah, best choice right here, because we can one-sided board wipe them. We'll do 5 to that Death Trooper, 2 to that TIE Advanced. They won't have anything out. I think there's much else to do here besides swing in for 7. Although they just got that droid out. So they'll be healing a fair amount here in a minute from their base. We'll start off the turn with Tarkin out. I think we'll Sentinel Tarkin here with the Star Destroyer. We did play Tarkin first just so we can start to stack that experience on our Star Destroyer. But that Defense Walker is going to be a really big problem, especially since they've got damage on their other ground units. It's going to buff them all, similar to what we did in our first sealed deck stream against with our own Krennic deck. So I'm going to heal a lot from that base because they'll be able to keep their units around for a little bit. That disabling Fang Fighter can come in pretty useful if they had some kind of like a shield on their Academy Walker. They don't. It's really not worth it really to remove 1 experience, although it'd be alright if that unit will die from not having enough health once you remove that experience, but otherwise probably want to save that. Really not a good use of it to probably play it right now. If we run Tarkin into that Academy Walker, he will die. So just trying to see if we can like out damage them before. But no matter what, either we have to attack with him or leave him there. And kind of waste our actions, not make the most use of it. So I do opt to run Tarkin into him instead of attack with the Star Destroyer and pass. Because we'll be able to do 7, which means we got 12 in the air next turn. Although they have 6 ground units, which is a ton. If we do not draw one of our 2 cell block guards, we really don't have a good way to trip them up on the ground. Do draw into our infiltrator's skill, which allows us to get around their sentinel unit with one of ours. But it will take actions to play that, and they'll probably be able to out damage us by then. The play I'm going for here is to see if we can activate Tarkin, stick some experience on our stuff, run in. I think they'll do 6 to us. They've got all that buff from Krennic from his static ability, which buffs the power of all of their damaged units. So no matter what they attack us with next turn, if we can't do 6, we're out of luck. I think, yeah, we'll get them down to 1. So very close. If it was a normal health matchup, definitely would have won there. But they do start out with 38. Okay. So they heal 2 from their 1, going back up to 3. So we're going to our 4th and final game versus a Boba Red deck. I am running 2 off-color cards. One of them is Moment of Peace, so that is a card that gives a unit shield for 1 blue. But I think for 3, it's often worth it, especially later in the game. Putting that on a cell block guard or something like that can often stall up the game to where you can win. Gonna get rid of that Jawa. Saboteur is a keyword that we really don't want to be seeing on enemy units. I'm going to give that experience to that super laser tech to be able to attack with 3 against their Veers. I don't know how many Imperial units they're running, but Veers can be a pretty big problem. Also, when we do that, just like we did in I think it was our first game, the super laser tech comes out as a resource. So I think we hit it with an overwhelming barrage the first time, but you can also just run it into enemy units, put it in your resource, and then get Tarkin out early. Really useful, especially if you've got a cell block guard. We can it'll protect him. Tarkin can run into the base, and we'll keep stacking stuff on our guard. Okay, so I think what we should have done here is run that cell block guard into their 3-drop, because with raid it will deal 5, which is enough to kill it. So that was a bit of a misplay on our end. Should have just run it into there, because raid only applies on attack, so it would have only done a little bit of damage to us. Okay, we've got 6 resources, so we're going to stop resourcing for now. We are at 28. We don't want them to just like keep running into our base over and over and over again. So I do think putting Sentinel on Tarkin here is the best thing to do. That Ruthless Raider, also something that we do not really want to see. That is guaranteed 4 damage on the base, more like 8, especially if they can keep whacking us. With that experience on there, we do have enough to kill it with our Star Destroyer, though. Can't really get anything to stick on the ground in this matchup right now. We've got a Jedha Agitator, one of the cards that was spoiled last week, maybe a little bit before, which if Boba is out, they can deal 2 damage to our base just with that when it attacks. That Shore Trooper, we do have enough resources out for him to get his buff. Okay, this is exactly what we wanted to see here. We drew into our overwhelming barrage, which will let us do 8 damage across their units. So we should be able to get rid of Boba, Death Star Stormtrooper, and the Jedha Agitator all in one go. And then our Shore Trooper, we can get rid of that Shore Trooper. Or we can use our Shore Trooper to get rid of their partisan insurgent, although they might attack us with it. That's what they probably should do. But they don't. They go for Bosk, which is a fine play on their part. They did still get rid of it. Now just deciding whether we want to play a probe droid on the ground or the academy training. Opt to go for the probe droid. Although the partisan insurgent only deals 1 because they don't have another red unit out, so nothing really for us to worry about down there. You can see our other off-color card with our asteroid sanctuary. Asteroid Sanctuary will tap down one of their units, give a shield token to ours with our cell block guards. And also even some of those cheaper units, when they've got a lot of experience counters on them, it doesn't really change their casting cost or the cost to play them. So you can always shield up a unit that's got a lot of experience on it, which can be a pretty useful play, even though it costs a little bit more. Okay, we open fire there just to make sure they have nothing out. We do not want to be surprised, and we don't want them to ready with a unit, because if they do have the Falcon or something like that, we could be in a pretty bad spot. So I just want to make sure they don't have anything. Although they're going to grab initiative because they don't really have anything else to play. We would rather start so that we could play our Star Destroyer and then Sentinel it. But they're just going to sit there, not really play anything. But it does put them down to 6. Okay, that is exactly the kind of thing we're worried about and why we want to start first. But isn't really going to matter because they'll be down. Okay, so we went 3 and 1 there. I think we'll go over our sealed pool. We started with 6 different leaders. We got a whole full range. I think we're gonna go kind of through here pretty quick. Really, I think the cell block guards, plus the 2 Death Star Stormtroopers, the overwhelming barrages, I mean, like, really clinched it. Our rares were Lando, Han, Mace, Windu, which are very, very good cards. I think you could make the case for a deck with them, maybe with green, with Leia, especially when we get into the space arena. We'll have some green-white Space Sentinel, the Bright Hope right there. So I think there might have been another route through the draft, although I think best decision is with that overwhelming barrage. It really is a kind of, really, really great card, especially at uncommon. Results in one-sided board wipes, plus with Tarkin, really combines really nicely. Galactic Ambition, another one of our rares, but not something we'd really want to run. So you see those tactical advantages. I was, a little bit torn on that. That was the only thing that I was a little bit unsure of. I think maybe I should have switched them out with those off-color cards that I ended up running. Here's our final full kind of deck list. Really happy with how it went out. I do think this was the strongest deck that we could build, especially with those 2 Star Destroyers. We really ended up with, I mean, almost, facsimile of the early competitive Moff Tarkin deck. I did opt for Moment of Peace and Asteroid Sanctuary for shields just because of our cell block guards, instead of those other one cost green cards that added two power and two toughness. Just didn't seem like they would be as good